Alrighty. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. My name is Desiree McNeil. I am the graduate student assistant here at Lorry College. And I'm going to introduce our presenters today who's going to be talking all things scholarships. So first we have Danielle Mead. She's waiting. She is from the College Scholarship Committee. And then we have Christine Chaw from Financial Aid. And I'm going to pass it over to them. And if anyone have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or wait to the end.
Thanks, Desiree. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us virtually. Hopefully we get to see everyone's faces in person soon, but for today, we'll be going ahead and presenting this information to you virtually. So again, like Desiree mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and then we'll have a time at the end to go over them. So today we'll be going over just information about various scholarship opportunities and provide an overview of our Spartan Scholarship application, which is where the College of Education scholarships are listed. So this will be like your one-stop shop for applying for scholarships that are campus-wide and then also department-based. We'll be going over also just important tips and pointers for you to keep in mind while you're going through the application process, and just some helpful information to help you as you navigate the process. So to just do a general overview of the types of scholarships that we have, the first category, we categorize them as campus-based scholarships. These are scholarships that are open for all students. So whether you're in the entering group as high school seniors, current students, in the graduate level or credential program, these are scholarships that are offered for you campus-wide as a student enrolled here at San Jose State. So for these scholarships, they are facilitated through our Spartan Scholarship application. This application will open up every spring semester. So we launch it usually the first or second week of classes. So it goes live on our financial aid and scholarship website. And you want to be sure that you mark your calendar because this is a yearly application. So be sure that you apply every year. So just because you applied last year or you're not planning to apply this year, make sure you apply every year that you're a student here because you're eligible at each level that you enter. And for each semester or each year that you're here, your scholarship pool might look different because you may have maybe been in a certain program, or now you're able to apply for a certain scholarship based on the units you're in. So it's important that you check every year. It does launch every spring semester on our financial aid website. So these are scholarships that are just campus-wide. The eligibility would be just to be enrolled at San Jose State. Each scholarship opportunity has different criteria, but we will match you internally with the ones that you're eligible for when you submit what we call the general application through that Spartan Scholarship database. So that is the first level of scholarships that you want to keep in mind. Again, because these are matched for you internally, you don't need to go in there and look for the ones that pertain to you, specifically for campus-based. We match you internally for those. So it alleviates you having to check each one when you go into the portal for those. The second category that I want to talk about are department-based. So these are scholarships that are offered by your specific areas of study, your major, the schools that you fall under. These scholarships are in addition to our campus-wide scholarships. For your department-based scholarships, every department on campus, they administer scholarships specific to their area of study. So this is where you want to get in contact with your department, I would say every semester. Probably the end of fall, start of spring semester would be a really good time just to check in with each of your departments, ask specifically, are there any scholarship opportunities that you can apply for this year, for next year? They may have new opportunities. They may have different ones that occur every year or at certain times of the year. So I would really recommend that every year, in addition to marking the Spartan application, you want to just make a note to also check in with your department to see what type of opportunities that they offer. Because departments have their own specific criteria, they have their deadlines, they also may have different application instructions. Some of the departments, again, they use our Spartan Scholarship database, which will be very convenient because you'll find all of the department scholarships listed on the database when you log into your Spartan application. So you'll see the campus and then you'll see your specific College of Education scholarships. They may have other opportunities that are maybe they require PDF or just other scholarships that they might want you to be aware of. So I would still check in with them just to see what opportunities are out there in terms of funding grants and opportunities. Keep in mind that majority of the scholarships are awarded for the next academic year. So what that means is when you are submitting your application for this spring 2022, this will qualify you for scholarships for the next fall 22 to spring 23 academic year. So keep that in mind as well while you're applying for these scholarships. So the application is now live and you can navigate to our financial aid and scholarship office homepage. That is the URL, sorry. But you can just, Google financial aid scholarship, Spartan scholarship application, and it will take you to the homepage there. You'll see a blue link. It says apply for our SJSU Spartan scholarships here. And that will allow you to start your Spartan application. Note that the deadline for the general application will be May 1st. So you do want to make sure to have all of those ready to go and submitted by May 1st of this year. You want to make sure also to check back regularly because there are other opportunities from now until May 1st that may be added. So it's good that you continue to check, make sure that you're keeping up to date with any new opportunities that show up. And this is where you can keep everything in terms of your application process and your notes and the information that you're putting in saved, so that you can continue to log in and work on it as you go. This is just kind of the general overview. You'll see it's a little small, but once you log in, you'll see the application. You'll log in with your SJSU ID, and it'll be your personalized application connected to you specifically as a student. So this is where what we call the general application. We'll be asking just, your name and just a few questions so that we can match you internally with campus-based scholarships that you may be eligible for. Note that you don't have to complete this all in one sitting. So feel free, as you're working on it, save, log out, come back when it's a good time for you. We're not expecting you to have this, go in and have it all filled out in one sitting. So be sure to just there's a button at the right-hand corner that will allow you to save and keep editing as you go, so that you can come back in and in different sessions, go ahead and input your information. This is the most important part, I would say, of your application, is where you'll go ahead and input information regarding your extracurricular activities and 2 personal statements that you'll be inputting into the application. So the first box you'll see will allow you to list any extracurricular activities. So this can include leadership roles, involvement in organizations on campus or in the community. I know that, these past few years may have not given you the full opportunity to be involved in person in some activities. So it is okay to share maybe activities you're planning to be involved in for the future, or that you have been involved in the past. And leadership roles don't only, they don't only include, some people see that and they say, I have to be part of like leading an organization or, some type of president of a club, but it's not limited to just that. Leadership looks different for each student, whether it's, organizing a group in your class for maybe studying together, or, showing up with your family and, you're head of a household there and taking care of, that with your family and working part-time and being a student. And so, every student is different. So you want to share what leadership means to you in terms of what you're involved in, whether it is on or off campus or with your community. We do ask kind of to explain a little bit about what it is that pertains to your involvement. So just a brief description of what it is, and then listing the dates that you've been involved in that program or activity. And if it's in the future, you can say, to be involved in the future, and list those approximate dates. So that's an area where you can share about your involvement. Danielle, I don't know if there's anything you want to add at this point in terms of what your committee kind of looks for in this area.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. So hello, everyone. So I'm Dr. Danielle Mead, and I recognize some of your names. Nice to see you all. And so like Christine said, this is part of the general application. So this is going to be information that will show up regardless of which subsequent scholarships you'll be applying to. So this is something that will show up. So you'll see that, again, you've got the personal statement and extracurricular activities. And just like Christine said, that word leadership can sometimes sound a little intimidating. So even if you're a member of an organization, but you took the lead on a particular project, or you took the lead on organizing an event for your group, that is also demonstrating leadership as well. So just like Christine said, be mindful that it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be one of the head, all the way at the top leadership positions in that organization. Something else of note is that if you have applied in the past, the first of these personal statement prompts is probably familiar to you. That one generally stays the same from year to year, although the word limit may have been adjusted slightly. I think I recall 500 words at one point or something. So maybe they've shrunk it down a little. The second, though, is a bit different. So sometimes you'll notice that from year to year, some of these prompts may change. So in this case, just be of note that if you do have documentation from, let's say, something you wrote last year, that perhaps, you want to update it, make sure that you are following the prompts, especially since that second prompt, I believe, is different from last year. And just based on reading the description of describing a significant life change or life experience and what you learned about yourself, I anticipate that there would probably be some reflection on the current state of affairs, right? Of how things are, especially related to COVID. And so I imagine that it could be related to that, but it could also be discussing some other significant life change in your life. It doesn't have to be COVID related. So while for many of us, we will automatically go to that, if there was something important, even if it was long before COVID or more recently, again, this is your chance to really share your story. And you want to make sure that you are able to kind of shine and not be afraid of, really shedding light on something that may have been particularly challenging or something you're especially proud of, because we only get to know you in a series of 800 words before the more specific questions to the scholarship. So just make sure that you are really trying to really sell yourself while responding to these questions, and make sure that you're not selling yourself short. If something was really impactful, really make sure that it shines.
Thank you, Danielle. That's great. So just to add on to what Danielle was sharing, exactly what she said, you really want to personalize your essay, really making sure that you're sharing what's unique to you and really answering what the question is looking for in a way that is able to convey to the committee who you are, right? So for our first personal statement, like Danielle shared, it does stay the same. So this one, you'll see that it has been the same for the past few years if you've been applying through our scholarship portal. It is to explain the importance of your major or field of interest in today's society. So this is really where you want to share, what it is that you're studying and how will what you're studying impact, right, today's society. So why is it so important, right, in today's society, and really tie together what you're studying and how is it relevant in our community today, right? So what is the importance of your area of study and tying that into the impact of what you're studying in today's society, and even taking it a step further and explaining how you will maybe personally, right, make an impact and a contribution to society today. As you can see, like Danielle mentioned, there is a word limit. So we do ask that you stay within that word limit. Our committees, they read, many scholarships. So it's important to really make sure that you stay within that word limit for both of the personal statements. I do recommend that for this section, you start your personal statements in a separate Word document. Don't try to write them in the portal for your drafts, because what will happen is sometimes I see students, they forget to save, and so they'll actually just exit the page really quickly, and then everything they have gets lost. So make sure you start your personal statement on a separate Word document, and then once you're ready to come in and paste it, then you can just paste it into the field and save it on the page there. The second personal statement, this is where we want to know more of you personally. So this is where you are able to just share about a life change that has happened or an experience that you have gone through that that has made an impact on you, and then what have you learned from that life experience or life change. Exactly like Danielle shared, it doesn't have to necessarily be, COVID related, but I'm sure there has been so much that has happened, even just, talking with one another, we all have faced different challenges and different experiences these past year, these past few years. So this is an area for you to share, whether it's COVID related or not, something significant that has happened to you, but taking it a step further and explaining what have you learned, right? What have you learned that has shaped and informed you to take that on with you into the future, whether it's personal, whether it's academic wise, maybe in all facets of life, it has shaped and informed you in different ways. So this is where we want to learn that about you. Like Danielle mentioned, sometimes, it's hard for us to share, things that may not necessarily seem so relevant to others, but this is really where we want you to be specific and share, because if you don't write it and share it, then the committee will not know, right? So this is really where you want to shine and stand out and share something that's unique to you and really carve out time just on putting together a strong personal statement. Be sure that you're organizing your thoughts in a way that is making use of every sentence. A lot of students struggle to fit everything within the word limit. So you do want to make sure that you are, answering the question that is being asked, centering your sentences to really support your answers and specifically addressing what is being asked, right? So make sure that you're just being organized, you're personalizing your personal statement, you're just giving examples that are unique and special to you. We're not looking for one type of, cookie cutter student. We're looking for, the ability for you to share who you are, but really answer the question and let that, shine through. And again, don't feel overwhelmed, having to write multiple personal statements. For those of you who have one from last year, you can take that and make sure though you read it over, you adjust it to fit, where you are currently, whether you've added maybe other activities or you're planning to be engaged in future opportunities on campus, whether academics or personally. Make sure you include those items into your statement so that it's relevant to where you are today. Another important point is we do take into consideration spelling and grammar. So make sure you are proofreading, you are reading it out loud. I really, really encourage you to take advantage of the writing assistants on campus, Peer Connections, the Writing Center. Reach out to them. They are aware of our scholarship personal statement. So this is really where you want to, really take use of the resources that are out there. You can even, email it to me and I can take a look at it for you. Just really utilizing the individuals and resources on campus to help you really put together that strong personal statement. That's something that you really want to spend time in. I think, Danielle, I'll let you jump in and share, just other thoughts that you have, and I think really what the committee looks for specifically in your area.
Yeah, and so I just saw Stephanie's comment in the chat coming through about, well, if you're reusing something, we normally frown upon that most of the time, but this is a chance where, yeah, your own personal narrative doesn't necessarily change so dramatically from year to year. So yes, it's nothing shy. You don't need to shy away from that. And plus the reviewers sometimes are also completely brand new each year. We also do everything completely de-identified. So we have no way of knowing like your name or anything like that. It's just whatever is put on paper. And so again, that makes the reusing okay. And again, just making sure that you are still tailoring it to whatever the prompt is. And you can also pull in, so sometimes we have some of our own undergrads applying, let's say, to one of our master's or credential programs where they already have their personal statement, right? Their professional statement. Again, you can, because you've already done so much of that legwork when applying, again, some of those concepts can also be used towards your personal statement here, and that is okay. To Christine's point about proofreading, while it sounds kind of nitpicky, and I know not everyone is thrilled when folks, especially in the CHAD department, we do lots of writing and we get a little particular about formatting. There's a reason for that. It's because it tells us that you took the time to take this seriously. So if it's really thrown together and there's a whole bunch of typos, or the sentences don't really make sense, it kind of tells us like, did you put the time that it needed to really put this together, right? So if you have taken the time to go through it, proofread it, maybe share it with someone else, right? To have them read it. I always tell my master's students to read it out loud, just like you have listed on here. It really does help you catch some errors where it's like, wow, this sentence doesn't make sense. So again, it just really sheds light on, how much time you're putting into it to really make sure that everything is fleshed out, that your examples are supported by some specific details. And again, the more you're able to say, again, really fill up that space. If you've got 400 words, that should kind of be your target. Because if you only use 100 of those words, we know less about you, right? And also part of it too is that some of these scholarships are really tailored for, sometimes the donors may specifically look for someone where, they want to support students who want to, who may have come from, let's say, a lower income background and want to go out and serve low income communities. If you don't share that part of the information in your personal statement, while it may seem a little odd or uncomfortable to share that and disclose that, you may actually be perfectly tailored for a great scholarship, and you may actually be just perfectly aligned with that. And without that additional information, it's harder for us to match you then to a very fitting and very appropriate scholarship. So again, it may sometimes feel uncomfortable to disclose things. And again, it's just, we only get to know you in so many words. So just try to use it wisely. So that way we get to know you as best as we can to make sure that anyone who is deserving of these scholarships are able to hopefully find a home and a match with one of our amazing donors.
Thanks, Danielle. Definitely, I would say the personal statement is probably the most time-consuming part of the application as well. So start soon. I think also, writing is a process. For me personally, like I kind of draft some ideas I want to talk about, and I'm like walking to get coffee, and I think, oh, maybe I'll add this. So it's kind of like an ongoing process, to really compile everything you want to say. So I would say start early. Make sure that you just start really drafting and getting the ideas you want on paper, and then really going from there. The very last part of the application, once you put in all your information and your personal statements, would be just a certification at the very bottom of the page. This is where you'll go ahead and just electronically sign. So we ask you to sign and then put in today's date, and then you'll just finish and submit. Once you finish and submit that yellow button at the bottom right, this is where you'll move on to the next page of what's called the recommended opportunities. This is where you'll now see a list of scholarships that you may be eligible for, but we will not match you internally. These are called recommended because they mean that they might fit you, but they're not 100%, matched perfectly. So what that means is, for example, scholarships that are out there for maybe single parents, right? Single parents who are going through a hardship, or students who may have overcome a physical hardship such as cancer. So there's some scholarships out there that we don't necessarily match you internally for, which will happen once you submit the general, this first portion. But the second portion of the recommended are scholarships that you will have to go through individually. We'll list them for you, and you can read through them. If you feel like you meet the criteria, that's where you'll go ahead and submit an application for the recommended opportunities. The great thing about the recommended opportunities, these are offered by also just different departments on campus. So maybe not necessarily just the College of Education, but different programs of assistance just campus-wide. So they may have launched a new scholarship program, or they're looking for a specific type of student. So we'll go ahead and list them on that page. So to get to that page of recommended opportunities, you do have to first submit your general application. But please note, you can go back in even after you finish and submit. It doesn't mean it's one and done. You can keep going back in and editing that general application up until May 1st. So just note that it doesn't mean that you're just, officially signing away your, first application. It means, you're finishing and submitting, but you can still go back and edit, but you're able to view the recommended opportunities. I know that might be a little bit confusing. So if you have any questions about that, drop that in the chat and I can, kind of clarify a little bit more. So again, that first page is your general app. You can click on finish and submit to see the recommended opportunities, but you can still go back and edit that general app till May 1st. Okay, so don't feel like you're just signing it away.
And I'll hop on as well. So yeah, so going to Christine's point, so she said this more than once now, which might be a little hint that yeah, starting early is always best, especially because of that May 1st deadline. So that's actually still quite a bit away. So if let's say over the next 2-3 weeks, you take a stab at trying to complete the general application, and you do click that finish and submit, knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect yet, but that would give you also more time to start looking at those recommended opportunities, because a lot of those recommended opportunities might have another prompt for you to respond to. So in the College of Education, we have another prompt, again, reflecting about the importance of our field in today's society. Again, sort of similar to one of those earlier statements. It's and just make sure that you're specifically addressing whatever that recommended opportunity prompt is. So that's more to be eligible for any of the College of Education scholarships. And then even further might be more donor, like very specific scholarship requirements. So one of the largest scholarships, for example, within the College of Education is called the Silker Scholarship. And that one is specifically towards people who are interested in implementing art education in their future jobs and future careers, and the benefit of incorporating the arts into serving children. And so if that is something that you are interested in and really meets your sort of goals in the future, there might be a specific prompt about, please explain how you plan to implement incorporating the arts into your classroom or into your, educational center or whatever it might be. So that's a clue that you really do need to respond to that prompt. What we don't want is just simply, here's one case where we don't want just copying and pasting from the earlier personal statements. We do want to make sure that if the question is asking about incorporating the arts into your classroom, that you are talking about how you plan to incorporate the arts into your classroom. Because if you don't include that, then you wouldn't be a good fit for that scholarship, right? Because that is what the donor is looking for. Or it might be specific of, a particular scholarship might be that you want to continue working even, let's say, in the San Jose Public School District, right? So if you plan on, if you're from, let's say, Southern California, and you plan on going back to Southern California to teach, that might not be the best the best fit for you. So again, just because it's recommended, there will be additional steps, there might be additional prompts. And again, just make sure to read what those are about to make sure, are you a good fit for that particular scholarship, yes or no? One last thing to point out too is because everything is a fresh new scholarship cycle, just like Christine mentioned in the beginning, of even if you applied for scholarships last year, even if you got a scholarship last year, there's a chance you may actually get that same scholarship this year. Nothing is guaranteed. I just want to be clear, but everything is reviewed fresh. Everything is reviewed brand new. The donors may have actually opened up to more of the scholarship. Maybe there's enough to sponsor another, 1 or 2 students. Maybe there's a new opportunity, but maybe you're still a very good fit for that same one. So again, everything is reviewed completely fresh. Everything is de-identified. So we have no idea if you even got a particular scholarship the year before. And also, again, sometimes the review committee members might be completely new. So again, just give it your best, give it a shot. Just because you got one last year doesn't mean you have to avoid applying for it. It is possible you could potentially get it again.
Thanks, Danielle. Just to emphasize again, I think what Danielle mentioned about the recommended opportunities and the personal statements there, that's really important because you really want to make sure, again, you're answering the specific question on that particular recommended opportunity, because the committee will see all your personal statements, so your general application personal statements, and then that recommended opportunity personal statement. So like she said, you don't want to be copying and pasting that personal statement twice, right? Because then the committee will see that. They'll be reading number 1 and 2 of the personal statements we just discussed. And then if number 3 is also that same personal statement, they'll know, you're not personalizing your answer to specifically, maybe an art scholarship or a scholarship looking to work with, the underserved community, right? So you want to make sure that your personal statement for the recommended opportunities is separate and looks different than the ones on your general application. Of course, you can talk about, the same information, but you want to phrase it in a way that is answering specifically that recommended opportunity. Okay, so make sure that that does look different than the answers on your general application. So once your application is submitted, we will go ahead and go into review of applications for your campus-based scholarships, usually in the summer. So the summer is when we will go through our applications and the selection committee reviews, and we notify students for campus-based notifications in the start of fall semester, usually late summer and at the start of fall. I think, Danielle, does your committee also review over the summer? Usually the notifications go out at the end of summer.
That is a great question. So this has changed. This has changed a few years back, but in the past, the deadline used to be in July, which meant that we didn't really meet until the very beginning of the school year. And so that made it a little tough to plan out your financial planning for the year. Now, the deadline is May 1st, which means that we typically will have everything reviewed before the end of the school year. And so most people will find out about their which scholarships they were matched to, typically by June. You would still know long before that first payment is due in the summer.
Perfect, thanks, Danielle. So you will be notified for College of Ed, well before the start of the next fall semester. And then for the campus base, closer to the start of fall. If you are awarded a scholarship, you will receive an email through the Spartan database to lay out for you any conditions of acceptance. So some of the scholarships, they do require just additional information, such as maybe providing a thank you letter to the donor, attending an award ceremony. So there's just different requirements that each scholarship has. So make sure to read through the requirements, make sure that you're able to meet certain requirements. Some may require you to be in a certain amount of units for the following semester. If you see any issues, I would say reach out as soon as possible. There is a contact name on the scholarship letter that goes out to you. So you do want to make sure that you respond, and maybe there's an issue with the number of units that you'll be enrolling in. Maybe you won't be able to meet a certain criteria. So make sure you communicate that just early so that we can work with you specifically to make sure that we're able to, still award you the scholarship and work with you. So how scholarship funds eventually they're distributed to you. Every scholarship is funneled through the Financial Aid and Scholarship Office. It will be added to your overall financial aid package. So that includes your work study, loans, grants, any other aid that you're receiving. Scholarships is a part of that. So for the scholarships that you receive for fall semester, they are dispersed first to any outstanding charges that you may have. So if you have, any tuition charge remaining for fall, or if you have, any charge sitting there for that semester, whether from the library or the bookstore, your financial aid, including your scholarship, will first be applied to those outstanding charges. And then once your charges are paid down, then everything is refunded to you as either a check in the mail or sent to you direct deposit to your bank account. I do recommend that you do sign up for direct deposit. That eliminates the stress of having the check lost in the mail. It does allow for a quicker turnaround time for it to get deposited to your bank account. So to sign up for direct deposit, that would be through the bursar's office. You would provide on your student center, you would indicate just the bank routing number that you would like to have it connected to. So definitely, if you are able to and you feel comfortable doing that, I do recommend setting up direct deposit as your primary method of receiving, any funds from the university, which includes your scholarship money as well. So I did want to just do a last overview of just private-based and external scholarships as well. So in addition to your campus-based and department scholarships, another great area that a lot of our students receive funding from are external scholarships. These are scholarships that are not associated specifically with San Jose State, but they are offered by private companies, organizations, community-based programs outside of SJSU. A lot of our students, a main source of their funding comes from these types of scholarships. We do have a database that we use to help students look for these scholarship opportunities. On our financial aid website, there is a section that you can navigate towards the external scholarship opportunities. These are scholarships that our office has looked through and different resources and databases that can help you kind of narrow down scholarships that may be relevant for you. The nice thing about this category of scholarships, they're offered all year round. So they're not time specific in the sense of our campus-based. It's a certain time of year every year, right? So it's always for the next academic year. But if you're looking for scholarships, like let's say now for a spring semester, a lot of external programs are still offering scholarships now for this spring 22 semester. So this is a good way for you to apply for scholarships all throughout the year, in addition to our main SJSU campus and SJSU department-based ones as well. Just a quick note about external scholarships, because they're not offered through the university specifically, just be aware, of scams. I know they're out there for, every area, but specifically, they also operate for scholarships as well. So make sure, you're not giving out personal information. They shouldn't be asking for any, social security, bank account, any type of those numbers. Make sure they're not, asking you for additional costs other than the application itself. anytime you see, maybe it's a smaller company or program, you can always email it to me as well, just so that I can take a look at it before you submit your application. Of course, bigger companies, like Google, Microsoft, there's a lot of, companies in Silicon Valley that are offering, great scholarships, make sure, you apply for those opportunities, but they're like smaller companies or organizations, you always want to just do that double check. So feel free to just email our office and we can help you take a look at that as well. I know we have about, I think, 10 minutes before we have to wrap up. So I think I'll leave maybe this time for any additional questions. These are just, I know once you have all this information, how you get started, really prioritizing your applications by the deadline dates. Everyone has a different way that works for them, whether it's like a checklist, a Google Doc, a calendar, setting internal deadlines for yourself, make sure you're following directions, don't miss the deadlines. And again, apply to all scholarships that you're eligible for. If you don't apply, you won't be in the pool. And I think like Danielle mentioned, you might be such a great fit, right, for a specific scholarship. And, if you don't put in your application, then we won't be able to consider you eligible for that. So, apply. And again, we're here for you to answer any questions. So, don't feel scared to ask. I think the biggest part is really making sure that you get all your questions answered, so you have the resources and, the information that you need to submit your application. So I think I'll send it back to you, Desiree, right now, maybe if you wanted to just facilitate any questions and make sure that everyone can get their questions answered.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. I think we should move on to questions, but before we do that, Anna, do you want to say anything? I forgot to introduce you in the beginning. I just want to make sure you can introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Pazranhel, and I am with the Dean's Office. I also facilitate the scholarship process, and I think a lot of the information has been covered by the session, but yeah, I would just add to apply early and to as many scholarships as possible. And when you fill out your application, the information you provide will help determine which scholarships you're eligible for. So that's in the second screen you would see in the portal. And so if you have any questions, just please feel free to reach out. I dropped my contact information in the chat, but I'll do that again. And yes, just reach out if there's anything that comes up. Thank you.
Perfect. And I think we have our first question. Jasmine, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was just wondering, for the general application scholarship, the question that says extracurricular activities, please list and describe, is that supposed to look like bullet points, or is that supposed to look like paragraphs? And I just really want to make sure I don't fumble the bag here. So
yeah, no problem, Jasmine. That's a great question. So you want to make sure that we're not looking for paragraphs. You can just simply bullet point, just very brief, maybe like 2-3 sentences max, describing your involvement. So maybe list what the organization is, the dates, and just very brief description.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Ellen, did you have a question? I see your hand raised.
Yes, hi, thank you so much for the session. I have a question about the department scholarship. I'm just looking up through the Department of Design, the department that I'm majoring in. I cannot find anything. Do I need to reach out to the department to find out about the scholarships?
So typically the process would be first applying to the general application. And once you click that submit or like finish and submit button, it will then generate you to actually get to see the more department specific application or opportunities. So they're not necessarily, I believe they're not necessarily listed anywhere except within the portal itself. So again, you can always submit your application and go back and edit it at a later date, as long as it's completely finished by the time and to your liking by May 1st. So that way you can actually get to see the list of the recommended scholarship opportunities.
So after we submitted the application, the general application, so we still can go back and edit it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Oh.
that might be sort of, again, thinking about getting started, just getting your feet wet, getting a sense of what those general questions are, starting to put something together, and then you can click submit. So that way you can see all the additional opportunities, but you have until May 1st. So for example, the college committee, like we don't even have access to this stuff until after the deadline, once everything is completely finalized. And yeah.
And just one last question. In the extracurricular activity, the previous student asked, can we also list the internships in that area, or this is a different thing? Internship, I mean, extracurricular activity is something that is not related to school and work.
Right, that's a great question. Internship is a great leadership position that you can put in that extracurricular. So definitely feel free to put that in that section as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
And to echo Joanna's question, it looks like Anna's already beating me to the punch because I was trying to look up the latest numbers. The question was about how, what are the odds, right, of getting a scholarship and how many are given and how much. So one estimate is about $300,000. And I just checked, it's usually between 200 and 300 scholarships. So there's a lot of money out there. Some of them are smaller scholarships. They may just be, let's say, $500. Some of them are much larger than that. But even so, again, just for the amount of time it takes to submit the application, why not, right? There's no harm in trying this year. And even if you applied last year and didn't receive any scholarships, doesn't mean that you won't get anything this year. So again, just be mindful that each year is completely separate, brand new batch of applications. And so if not as many people apply, then by definition, then your odds would be greater. But I like to just tell people what will increase the chances of you not getting a scholarship is not applying, right? So by applying to as many, by making sure that you are proofreading, your application, the committee, we like to think of this as Oprah just sharing out wealth, right? Of trying to make sure we're giving as many deserving students, that we're matching them with whatever scholarships they're best suited for. So again, we strongly encourage you to apply, because if you don't apply, then you miss out on the chance that you could get some free money.
Okay, perfect. Do anyone else have any more questions? And like Danielle and Christine and Anna mentioned, you all can feel free to email them if you have any questions. Because yes, money, free money. So you definitely want to apply. Don't wait.
And thank you, Emmy, for sharing. Exactly. Didn't expect anything and bam, you get money, right?
All right. If there's no more questions, we can feel free to go ahead and leave. And we're going to stop recording at this moment. And I think that's a wrap for the first scholarship workshop. Thank you all for coming.